So our second Radical UK Cup race is about to come out onto the circuit. Once more, it will be a rolling start. Once more, it will have driver change activity. And there is the newly crowned 2009 champion, proudly sporting the livery on the car to indicate so. Derek Johnston sits there on the pole position. Thumbs up from him. Alongside him is car number 88, Terence Woodward, the man from Windsor in Berkshire. And onto row 2 of the grid. It's the first of 2 camera cars that we've got in this race. Number 61, Manhal Alos, sits there on the inside of the second row of the grid alongside our second camera car, that being car number 25, the Scotsman, Richard Ferns. Well, glorious conditions throughout the whole of the weekend so far at Snetterton as the safety car brings them round on the green flag lap. Mandatory pit stops, as we say, to come in this one. The safety car pulls off. We're about to go Radical racing for the final time in the 2009 championship. We ride on board with Manhal Alos on the inside of the second row of the grid. The lights go out and they charge away and up towards Ritchie's, with Derek Johnson having taken the early lead of the race from Terence Woodward in second position. Looks as though Manhal Alos did slot through into third place. We ride on board now with Richard Ferns, who's lost a few places in the early stages. He's dropped down towards the bottom of the top 6 currently. Out of Sear Corner, there's a problem for Manhal Alos. He spins the car coming out of Sear Corner. Everybody has to avoid him. Simon Fish, car number 71, jinks out onto the old tarmac and avoids any contact. Manhal Alos trying to get the car fired back into life. In the meantime, our race leader, Derek Johnston, presses on towards the S's for the first time. There in third place is number 14. That's the car that has Roger Bromley behind the wheel, the man who, coming into this weekend, stood a chance for the championship. Well, that championship chance is now gone. Manhal Alos fires the V8 engined SR8 back into life, but he's lost a whole chunk of time through the Russell chicane and onto the start-finish straight. The pack of Radicals split into their various classes. The Masters class caters for the 2.6 litre V8 engined cars. The Supersport class caters for the 1300cc Radical SR3s, and then we also have the invitation class as well. Down into the braking area for Sear comes the car that sits there in third place, number 14, Roger Bromley, under pressure from 27. That's Ben Jackson that's behind the wheel of the BM Racing Radical PR6. He runs in the Pro Sport class as they feed their way back down into the S's once more. Car number 25, Richard Ferns, currently occupies 5th position, second of our 2 camera cars. We ride on board with him now, looking at the 4 cars ahead. Jackson it is directly ahead of us. You see just how close he is to Roger Bromley as through the bomb hole and up towards Coram he will come. Looking further down through the field, there goes car number 3, which is Sean Balfe, a man that we've seen racing in the FIA GTs in previous years. His sole race this season in the Radical UK Cup. As down into the braking area for the Russell chicane comes Charles Loughran at the wheel of the light blue and orange SR3. We're on board with Manhal Alos as a replay of the start, as in front of us is Derek Johnson to our, well, initially to our left, then in front of us then goes Terence Woodward. He occupies second place. Let's have a look whether Manhal Alos caused the problem himself or whether there's just a slight amount of contact as they came around through Sear Corner, onto the brakes, turn into the right-hander, and there was contact. I think contact in the rear of Manhal Alos forced him, albeit very briefly, into the rear of Terence Woodward. He loses the engine, tries to get it restarted, then it stalls again and loses a whole host of time. Great fight in the Supersports class at the moment. Car number 45, Colin Noble, is very much right on terms with Sean Balfe. Manhal Alos we ride on board with. Let's just listen to the V8 engine. Down the straight and up towards Ritchie's he will go. That's exactly where number 45, Colin Noble, is at the moment. Scotsman who is at the sharp end of the Supersports class in terms of the overall championship standings. However, come the race, he's behind Charles Loughran and Sean Balfe. There is the recovering Manhal Alos, who at the moment is outside of the top 8 places. He's got right up onto terms, that extra power of the V8 engine powering down the Revit straight past the substantially less powerful Supersports class cars. So Manhal Alos now starting to pick off the positions. Sean Balfe, car number 3, the black car with the yellow flashes, is the next of the runners that Manhal Alos will be hoping to try and feed his way through and pass. But come the pit stops, we'll see that the Super Sports class cars have to stop for 40 seconds. The Masters class cars have to stop for 50 seconds. And regardless of class, if it's a professional amateur pairing, then they have to stop for 1 minute. So the likes of Derek Johnson will hand over to Stuart Mosley and stop for the minute, as will Terence Woodward when he hands it over to Ross Kaiser. Powering his way through once more goes Manhal Alos. He's through and past Sean Boll. The car that's directly ahead of us now is the number 18 car in the hands of Charles Loughran. As we now look back once more at the car that currently occupies third position, that being Roger Bromley. Used to race on the short ovals in stock cars a few years ago. Heads out of the Russell chicane. As through comes number 88. That's Terence Woodward. He's still there in second position because it's still Derek Johnston, the champion, out front and leading. Fourth position, car number 27, is Ben Jackson. Not at the wheel of the SR8. We've seen him usually drive in the 2009 championship, but at the wheel of the PR6 that he shares with his father this weekend. As often down the slip road at the end of the Revit straight goes Roger Bromley, losing time and momentum. Not sure he's lost the place. He's still in third position with Ben Jackson behind him, but just outbraked himself. We've also now very much got the battle on for second position in the Super Sports class. Leading the Super Sports class at the moment is Mike Gardner, as into the pits for the first of the driver changes by the look of things comes the PR6 in the hands of Duncan Williams, who's vacating the car and handing it over to Tony Freeman. There goes the race leader into the pits this time. So Derek Johnson, already crowned the champion, about to hand over to Stuart Mosley. And Derek Johnson also in another championship as well, the Sunoco Rolex Challenge, which potentially will give either Derek Johnson or Rob Garofal, who races in the Speeds Championship, the opportunity to race fully paid in the Daytona 24 Hours. So Johnston will now, he's claimed this championship, have his focus very much on the Rolex Challenge points he's accumulating. The pit lane will get very, very busy. It's a very short window for the cars to come into the pits and change drivers. Car number 71 coming down the straight, looking rather slow indeed. That's the car that's in the hands of Simon Fish, the Radical SR3. Hand aloft for Simon Fish, and I think there are problems with that car. As into the pits is Richard Ferns. There's clearly problems with the car. It's not firing itself back into life by the look of things. We can hear the wires off the starter. There's going to be a bump start for Richard Ferns. That's the problem. You can hear him communicating with the pit crew. Out of the pits comes Stuart Mosley, having taken over the car vacated by Derek Johnson. Richard Ferns' car eventually throws itself into life. The Scotsman, who's had terrible, terrible luck so far this season, was hoping for better fortunes at Snetterton this weekend. He missed out on the podium places in the first race. He hopefully can get one in this one. Out of the car jumps Ben Jackson. Into the car will jump his father, Michael Jackson. And I'm sure that they will continue their progress through the field. Into the pits also the second of our two camera cars, Manhal Alos. Just taking a bit of fluids on board. A very, very hot weekend at Snetterton towards the rear end of the season. Stuart Mosley pressing on in the lead of the race. As problems by the look of things, well, Roger Bromley has not had the best of weekends. He's out of the car. Into the car will be Rob Weldon, but the rear bodywork being taken off the Radical Works machine. That won't worry Stuart Mosley as he continues around the circuit. Pit lane starting to clear now. Most of the drivers have come in within this very short window that exists. Work's still being done to some of the cars, however, Manhal Alos now obeying the pit lane speed limit. Makes his way back out onto the circuit. Well, Richard Ferns, car number 25, has yet to pit, and therefore he's clambered up through the order. He's up to second place. He's got Ross Kaiser breathing down his neck, the car that has been into the pits and has been vacated by Terence Woodward. Down the straight, the two of them come. Second and third position, Ross Kaiser trying to get up the inside at Richie's corner. Through goes Ross Kaiser. That car having to stop for a minute because Ross is classed as a professional driver, whereas when Richard Ferns comes into the pits, he'll just have to stop for 50 seconds. Through Sear, down the Revit straight once more. The two of them will make their way, both of them powered by V8 engines, a 2.6 litre PowerTech engine. There's car number 2. That currently leads the Super Sports class in the hands of Mike Gardner and Alex Mortimer as they go through Richie's corner on towards Sear once more. Here comes Manhal Alos following his pit stop and his spin in the early stages, trying to make his way up through the order. The car sounding a little bit off song though as it came around through the Russell chicane, so perhaps problems for Man Halalos. He continues in the meantime and looks as though he's certainly on the pace still. There is number 14, which is Rob Weldon. As further down through the order, we've got a very, very busy second place car in the hands of Ross Kaiser, slowly trying to make his way through and past Michael Jackson, car number 27. He's managed to do that. He's also now up onto terms with Colin Noble, who at the moment is a lap down, and Colin Noble should make fairly easy work. Car number 71, which had problems earlier on, if you recall, it's its way back out onto the circuit in the hands of Phil Abbott. There's also a black and orange flag shown briefly there for car number 14. That is Rob Weldon. Clearly, all is not well with the car. All is not well also with Man Halalos, who looks as though he's coming into the pits. Well, all of a sudden, the car leaps back into life once more. Man Halalos continues around the circuit. I thought last time heading through the Russell chicane, the car sounded a little bit poorly. It now would appear to be absolutely back up onto speed once more. Perhaps just a little bit of fuel starvation as the fuel load begins to come down in the car. They will have a baffled fuel tank so as to prevent the fuel slopping from one side to the other. But perhaps round the fast right-handers. Problems also for number 7 and into the barriers. It looks as though Tony Freeman has deposited the car and caused a reasonable amount of damage to the front end of that car in the barriers. There's Sean Bolt, car number 3, the black car with the yellow flashes, still fighting tooth and nail now with car number 18, that's Paul Thomas. And they go past, by the look of things, Man Halalos, who's ailing again once more. As a result of that, Paul Thomas has managed to slide his way through and gain the place on Sean Bolt, who I'm sure briefly had to get off the accelerator. And that cost him time. Well, there is car number 88, Ross Kaiser, still in second position. As Man Halalos clearly has got a problem, the car coming into the pits and being wheeled straight into the 360 Racing garage. So the Iranian driver will take no further part in the race. Stuart Mosley comes out of the Russell chicane. We've not seen a lot of the race leader. Such has been the gap that he's managed to open up between himself and the rest of the field. So Stuart Mosley and Derek Johnson will come through as a pairing to claim the victory here at Snetterton. That is their 7th victory of the season, and what a weekend it's been for them. Johnson and Mosley secure the honours. Ross Kaiser and Terence Woodward come through in second place, with Mike Gardner and Alex Mortimer completing the top 3 ahead of Sean Bolt in 4th. Well, top step of the podium once more. Let's hear from our race-winning pairing.
We started off the weekend with a lot of understeer, and we've somehow managed to arrive with quite a bit of oversteer at the end of the race. So it's a very different animal to drive now, but you know, we were able to do some decent lap times had we have needed to. So the car was very good actually at the end.
Congratulations, Derek. You've taken 7 wins in this series, in the British Series this year, and that helps your. There's a badge on your on the race suit. Rolex 24 Hours racing next year in the 24 Hours Daytona. And I think that's put you in pretty good stead for that.
Yeah, I mean, the double victory to start with this weekend is a superb way to win the British Championship, which was, you know, better than what we'd planned. We only needed 1/3, but to get the double is superb. But for this Sunoco Rolex Challenge, yeah, I think 2 wins puts me pretty much right way up at the front. So it depends on what Rob does in the Speed Championship, I think, in 2 weeks to decide it.
So Derek Johnson is that claims the 2009 Radical UK Cup Championship with 225 points. The Supersports class was won by Colin Noble, with the invitation class going the way of the pairing of Tony Freeman and Duncan Williams.